What's going on, everybody? Just went ahead, ended that countdown as soon as I saw we were live, because a couple minutes late here. I know we've got some friends already in the chat. Good to see Mark in here. Mark, saw your comment on the last video. Want to talk about some Brooke Lopez a little later on today. Good to see you in here. Hoping to draft with the FTN crew today. Traveled to beautiful Niagara Falls, New York. Fresh chum in the water for you, Sharks. Good to see you. Mark, Jeff, yeah, hour-long wait to draft a double dribble team. Let's see. Let's go ahead as folks continue to file in here, and we'll get links posted in the FTN Fantasy Discord. We'll retweet this on Twitter, all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and jump into the waiting room because if we do have a wait ahead of us, let's try to expedite that as much as we can. Now we're waiting for one. So hopefully not a long wait to jump into this first draft of the day. And again, I am planning on doing a second draft here, hanging around. So any of you who joined the stream late, want to get in on this second draft, can do so here in a little bit. But just waiting for one on this first draft. And looks like we are off and running. See where we're going to draft at the 6th spot. Okay, not bad. And look, UNC at the 1. I don't know what kind of connections you got, Chris, over at Underdog. I swear you get 1 or 2 every other draft that I see you in. Good to see Weisberg back in here. No, it'll be a 2-hour wait. Yeah, hopefully not for that second one, right? I mean, last week was just over an hour wait to fill those last couple spots for our second draft last week. Good to see you, Mike. Good to see Phil in here as well. 4 spots left. Now we're off and running. So again, if you are in this draft, I see Weisberg at 3. I see Mark there at 4. Hugo at 7. Kinnick at 8. So we are just loaded up here. And if you are in this draft and I don't know your screen name, feel free to jump in the comments. Let me know who you are, where you are. And yeah, you would see even surprised himself. And wow, this is crazy. UNC, what's the count on your drafts looking like? I know you said you had slipped up a little bit last week and kept things rolling. I think you were past the 110 mark last week. I should get over 30, I think, this weekend. Really starting to turn things up here. And again, we've got at least 2 hours here to discuss all kinds of topics that I want to get into. So excited for today. We've got Wemby off the board. We've got the Joker off the board. And we have an update to my rankings. Of course, those are free for the entire preseason at ftnfantasy.com. I'll drop the link here to those ranks into the YouTube chat here. So a number of movers and shakers on the ranks update this week. Did go through earlier in the week. Calculated those playoff round games as we were discussing last Friday. I think Jeff already said he had. I think Weisberg said he had as well. Got on that myself this week, and I am going to go ahead and take Joel Embiid here at 6. Embiid or Tatum at 6 is pretty great to me, but we'll go ahead and start with the 2022 league MVP there at 1-6. Now Hugo on the clock. I know Hugo actually looked like I have an unanswered message here from Hugo as well. Where he belongs at 1. Nope. I am slightly Joker over Wemby still at the top. But Hugo, I know this is your first live stream, I believe, of the season. So glad to have you back, my friend. Or if I recall correctly, you jumped in near the end of last week. And I see Hugo goes Paolo, then Tatum to connect, and we're rolling through the rest of the first round here. But yeah, I am slightly Joker over Wemby if I get the one spot there. Let me disseminate the link here to the various basketball-related channels. And we'll go ahead and we'll pull up the we'll get a couple zooms here, right? For those of you tuned in and watching. Zoom in on that draft board a little bit. If you're watching on the YouTube, hit that like button, right? Subscribe to the channel here at FTN Fantasy. So at the turn, Ant Edwards, LeBron James, and now we're coming back around here in the second. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, 16%. I know Chris told me yesterday he's up to 15% Wemby now. And again, that illustrates your luck, I think, so far this draft season. Trae Young off the board at 14, then Siakam. So you got a double wing start there out of the 10 spot. Mike's happy to get the 3 and happy to get Giannis at 3 this time. Jeff says he's still on pause from drafting, on schedule now, but wait to save more for later. I like it. I know you got in there, Jeff, like you were kind of in Chris's camp there in terms of getting like triple digit drafts in already, almost by Labor Day, if I recall correctly. Who goes? Egregious that Wemby isn't number 1. Hey, he's the 1B for me. I feel just a little bit safer with Jokic there if I have the 101. But again, 2 is the sweet spot for me there because I'll let number 1 make that decision for me and then get an earlier pick here in the second round. So we're back up on the clock. Şengün going to Hugo at pick 18. That's what I talked about on the fast break last week, or on Monday rather, with Mike Randall. I am going to go Jaylen Brown here. Again, we've talked about the importance of wings since I went Embiid with the 6th pick. Going to go Jaylen Brown here. I've got him ranked 19th on the latest update, so pretty close to where his ADP is sitting now at 21. We'll take him at 19 overall. With Ja Morant, the only guy ranked higher in my ranks, but you can see a litany of elite guard options still available, and those wings already starting to thin out. We'll get a little retweet action here. Again, if you are tuned in on the YouTube, again, keep firing those comments in here as we go along. Participation enhances it for everybody. And if you're just tuned in on Twitter or X, if that's what you're calling it these days, give the draft a little retweet there. Let's bring more folks into our FTN NBA community here in the preseason. After I went Jaylen Brown, Ja Morant, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson to Weisberg. So Giannis and Brunson start very, very strong. Mark went Julius Randle there. So UNC here at the 2-3 turn. See Mark starting Luka, Julius Randle. Like I said, Weisberg, Giannis, and Brunson. Now we see what UNC does with Wemby in the fold from the 1 spot. Okay, Weisberg say now we can get into the nitty gritty here. We're settled in. We've got the links. We've got the retweets, all that good stuff. Walk me through Embiid at 5. And Weisberg said he would still take Tatum at 5 every day of the week. And again, I'm totally fine with that. SGA being behind those 2 is really what I'm getting at with those rankings. I still lean slightly towards Embiid and that elite big build, right? Hero big rather, over Tatum. And that was further solidified, Mike, for me when I went through those playoff schedules earlier this week. Boston is not they've got 21 games during the playoff rounds. So another little tiebreaker for me there is that Embiid does have an extra game. And again, it's hard for me to get over the fact because I know last year it didn't work out this way. And I'm on deck here. I know it didn't work out this way last year, but 2 years ago, I believe it was, might have been 3. But it was like Jokic and Embiid. And of course, that year they were in their own tier at the big position on Underdog. But in that season, I think it was a 50-man final, maybe 100. But it was like 95% of those teams had one of those elite bigs, Jokic or Embiid, on the team. So I'm still, maybe I'm just not able to get over the fact that guys like Embiid and Jokic were so important back then. And I am going to go ahead and grab LaMelo Ball. It's ranked 21st for me, ADP of 29. Going to get him here at pick 30 overall. So I think I just kind of lean Mike into that hero big build still in the top 5 or 6 picks before I feel like I have to grab Jason Tatum. And again, I've had Embiid over Tatum for the last 2 or 3 weeks there at 5 and 6. So just further solidified with that playoff scheduling, which again, I know guys like Jeff, I think UNC as well, have had those numbers in their head as well. So you'll see a lot of shifts in the ranks up and down this week based off those playoff schedules, serving as somewhat of a tiebreaker for some guys that I'm close on. Hugo saying, meant to take someone else. Well, we'll see how you can pull out of it then. Jalen Johnson at 31. Connect grabs Bam at 32. Bam is a guy who went up a few spots in the ranks as well. As one of the 4 teams that has 23 games in the playoffs. Those teams, Pacers, Clippers, Heat, and Jazz. And again, Best Ball Diary articles, those will be behind the paywall here at FTN Fantasy, but the first of 3 of those articles bi-weekly starting on Wednesday the 18th. Let's see, Jeff says, I got you here. So after Bam went Steph, Harden, Zion at 35, decent value there, although that is the second big in the 11 spot there. And the 12, adding Damian Lillard to Ant and LeBron, starting off the 4th round here with pick 37. Jeff says Sabonis at 11 feels great. Yeah, I think very, very solid there. I'm fine with Sabonis or Scotty there. Obviously, I have Sabonis 1 spot above. And that's one thing about Paolo, too. You'll notice that Paolo, I think was 8 or 9 in my ranks as of last week. He dropped a couple spots because of that playoff scheduling. The Magic are the lone team with just 19 games in the playoff round. So tough to, when you're close on a group of guys at any position, if there's a Magic guy in there, that's kind of the tiebreaker in favor of almost any other team. Russell Wilson, questionable for week 2. We start to get some of that NFL news rolling in here on our Friday afternoon. Little run of guards here, 6 of the last 8 picks. Maxey Cunningham, DeJounte Murray, the last 3. Kinnick, then Hugo, then myself here in round 4. And I like the way this has played out so far because I'm going to land one of these 4 guards that are sitting at the top of my ranks here. And again, if you want to either input my ranks from ftnfantasy.com or do your own, you can go up here on at least the desktop version of Underdog Fantasy, click on rankings, toggle to NBA, and input your own ranks. So I have Embiid. I'm going to go ahead and take Paul George here and pair those 2 Sixers guys together. There have been some Embiid drafts over the last week where I have avoided Paul George in that spot and taken a Jalen Johnson, taken a Kyle Kuzma, guys like that. But I'll go ahead and snag PG-13 here. See, Jeff says, the only downside to getting Wemby this year is you're likely to get left behind at wing. I agree. But I still think outside of the 2, and I know Mike Randall was making the case on Monday's draft that went up on the Fast Break feed. He was making the case that, kind of similar to what you're saying here, Jeff, is that he felt a little bit more comfortable getting Giannis at 2 or in those top 3 picks just to solidify that wing position. So, and we'll see. I mean, you see, right, as Weisberg goes, Josh Giddey, Burns got Jimmy Buckets, then Kyle Kuzma, so UNC on the clock here at the 4-5 turn. And, you kind of need a little bit of help from the draft room, or you just go ahead and reach a little bit relative to ADP as Chris did here, right? And he's gone now. Wemby, 3 wings. I imagine we will get a guard here at pick 49, but adding DeMar, Kawhi, and Miles Bridges to Wemby feels pretty good. And then McCall Bridges. So UNC now here, taking your words to heart, Jeff, 4 wings coming off the Wemby pick at 1. And UNC, he said, to be fair, I've gotten a good amount of shares at Wemby 2, 3, 4. I want to say back in early August, Chris, too, you were sending me screenshots of you getting Wemby at 5, maybe 6. I don't know. But yeah, here you go. It says, let's get crazy. I guess I'm behind here a little bit on the comments. And Jeff saying Philly has one of the best playoff schedules. Yeah, they're in that 22 game tier. Again, those 4 up top with 23, Pacers, Clippers, Heat, and Jazz. Matthew stopping by. So dang, I would have got in this. Well, Matthew, if you got the time, and I know we're in the middle of a Friday here, but we will do a second draft after this one. So if you hang around and jump in, you can definitely join us. Love to have you. Appreciate you stopping by. 9 teams have 19 games in the playoff round. Jeff, we might have just done. Our counts might be off there. I went through them twice. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm on the clock here. Let's see what we got. Jamal Murray, Fred VanVleet, Brandon Ingram, the top 3 left on my board. I think it is. I'm going to go ahead and get Jamal Murray, of course, securing the bag last week. 4 years, $208 million to extend with Denver. Hugo goes VanVleet. So I've started LaMelo Ball, Jamal Murray, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Joel Embiid. Solid enough start here. Yeah, Jeff, I mean, I have a Google Sheet as well. Maybe I'm counting every team wrong, but I would double check that playoff schedule in the Underdog rules. I'll do the same. Weisberg says, thought very seriously about a wing at 51 there, but Mobley was too good of a value. So Weisberg here, yeah, and 2-2-1 start for Mike. Giannis and Laurie on the wings, Brunson and Josh Giddey in the backcourt, and then Evan Mobley in the middle. Yeah, I like that pick just fine. Kinnick took Ingram, then Gobert, then Vooch. Closing out round 5 here, MPJ. And coming around on the turn, Jarrett Allen. I'll be interested to see, Jeff, which one of us is right on the count here. I remember 2 years ago, our old buddy Joe Metz, shout out to Joe. Joe and I got into a similar conversation. It turned out that he had miscounted his playoff rounds. So I'm hoping that I'll be 2-0 after the stream here. Tobias, Jabari Smith, Cam Thomas. So Kinnick on deck here, then Hugo, then myself. So we've got kind of 2 groups of 3 here. 6, 7, 8, me, Hugo, Kinnick, and then 1, 3, 4 is Chris, Mike, Mark. After Cam Thomas goes Emmanuel quickly. Kinnick here with the 1-3-1 build so far. And I'm pretty open to any position here with the 2-2-1. Bane, then Jalen Duren. So I'm coming around on Miles Turner a little bit. He jumped up a few spots. Again, Pacers, one of those teams with the most games in the playoff rounds. So I'm just going to go ahead and add Miles Turner there. And we'll see what we do about the big position when we get into the later rounds, but pretty set there at this point. Again, if you're just tuning in with us and you have not signed up yet at Underdog, I don't know what you're waiting for. You see this NBA best ball action. We're just over a month out from tip-off. And you can sign up at Underdog using the promo code FTN. Right now, that gets you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $1,000, which I think is the largest deposit match bonus I've seen them put out in the last calendar year, at least. And with that promo code right now, you get a special discounted pick. So again, signing up at Underdog, promo code FTN. Jumpstart your bankroll over there. Then jump in these double dribble drafts with us. Have definitely seen, I guess I'll knock on wood here, have definitely seen these draft rooms filling up with a little bit more pace. But again, last Friday we were talking about that being the case, and we waited for an hour for draft 2. Weisberg goes AG, then Nurkic off the board to Mark. I'm on deck here with the 2-2-2 build. I think I'm looking for a wing here. So Chris Middleton, Keegan Murray, the 2 wings in my ranks at the top of the board right now. Guards looking for Derek White, Kobe White, Anthony Simons. I know it's about 12 picks above ADP in my ranks right now. Big group of guards here. There goes Kobe White. So I will go ahead and take my guy, Chris Middleton here. That ADP coming up as well. You see 85 now on Chris Middleton. I want to say 2 weeks ago he was in the mid-90s. I'm holding strong in my upper 60s in terms of overall rank for Middleton. Matthew says, couple Qs. Curious about thoughts on why Wemby is the consensus #1 overall. I don't get it. It's fairly simple to me. I think that there's 2 main factors. Number 1, we'll keep that on the screen for you, Matthew. Number 1, in my eyes, he is the best fantasy basketball asset in the world, hands down. Again, it's not a huge gap between he and some of those other guys at the top there. But the fact that he was in that tier last year as a 19/20-year-old continues to get better day by day. I think the field is just it's that combined with the field getting excited for the new young name. And I know he's his sophomore season now, but you saw the hype at the end of draft season last year, right? Where he was in the late 20s, then he snuck up into the mid 20s, early 20s, and then after the preseason game started, he was getting drafted, in the I want to say early teens by the end of draft season. So I think it's just a continuation of the hype ultimately. But again, I have him at 2, so I'm not far off from that. Weisberg says he didn't love Aaron Gordon there, but hate taking Middleton. Yeah, I know we talked about this 2 weeks ago, right? Middleton, and I think that's still the most recent update on his news blurb there on Underdog is Chris Middleton gets surgery on both ankles. So I get the hesitation. But for me right there, there's if you get a healthy Chris Middleton season, even if he takes a slight step back in terms of his fantasy efficiency for the wing position, to me, that's a crazy value. Again, you need the health to go, need it to go your way. In the last couple seasons, it hasn't. But at that point of the draft, to me, Chris Middleton's upside is just much higher than Gordon or Osser or Keegan Murray or OG, the other guys going in that range. That's just my thinking on Middleton, and it really hasn't changed over the last couple weeks. But I'm going to feel real bad if we get to training camp in early October and, Chris Middleton's not practicing. I think he'll be fine, though. So coming around here, round 8 started out with Jeremy Grant, then Brandon Pajemski, DeAndre Ayton, John Collins. So Kinnick on the clock here, then Hugo, then myself. 2-3-2. So we can look for one of these. There goes one of the Lakers guards. Russell, Trace Jackson Davis. Thanks, Hugo. It's going to be Anthony Simons for me here. I know this is right at ADP, but I think this is a pretty decent value here. In the middle of the 8th. And we'll keep pushing. Got Mark on deck, then Weisberg, UNC at the turn. The pod's at 86 is wild. Yeah, it's a little early, right? But also in these drafts, if you are you've got to take on a guy that is, pretty far out of whack with ADP. I say stand on it. We talked about Pajemski, right? We were talking about the Warriors, their rotation, their depth chart. But I do, if I recall correctly, Mike, you were making a pro Pajemski case to me 2 weeks ago, and you're even saying 86 is too high. Now, he said, was he in that tier though, based on week by week data from last season? Yeah, not at the beginning of the season, Matthew. Like, you got to remember that at the beginning of the season, not only was Victor not playing with a point guard, Jeremy Sohan was the point guard for the first few months, or doing an impression of one. He was also playing at the 4. And when both of those things switched, he was the best fantasy asset through the last really all-star break on. Yeah, Hugo says, love the 2-4-2 build with what I've been seeing. Yep. And Jeff, here we're back on Buzelis. Was it UNC didn't get him? Did he go already? Okay, he hasn't gone yet. But yeah, I agree. We talked about this at length last week, right? So some of the guards available here: Sexton, Beal, Drew Holiday. Getting real thin at wing right now. Sohan, Rishache, Keldon Johnson, Cam Johnson. Keontae George off the board to mark. Then Porzingis. So for me here, by my ranks, this would be Colin Sexton. I'm kind of between that and Sohan here. I don't have hardly any Sohan, maybe 1 or 2 shares so far. So I think I'm going to grab Sohan. Again, differentiating a little bit from the ranks there, but when you're going through 150 drafts, you do some of that. Here's Hugo 242. He gladly scoops up the Colin Sexton. And we keep it pushing here in round 9. Yeah, first, and see, that's the thing, Matthew, is like it's totally different now, and they're not going back. Chris Paul's the point guard now. Wembanyama's not playing at the 4 again, right? At least until there is a change in that front court with the personnel. It's you can almost segment Wemby's season into thirds last year, and by the end, again, if you're drafting a team to go win a game right now, and again, I know that's not really fantasy related, but I don't know how he's not in your starting 5. He's a top 10 defense by himself, and he might be top 5 defense by himself this year. Yeah, there you go, UNC. Much restraint needed to not take Modest there. I may be ill. And there goes Buzelis at 107. So yeah, I guess just not the 101 not conducive to your Buzelis love, right, Chris? Matthew said already got his Buzelis exposure. Now he's way too high. Yeah, we went on about Buzelis for probably 10 minutes, maybe a little more last week, back and forth. Yeah, I've got him ranked in the 120s. I have no problem with Buzelis, and he was one of my favorite like value picks of that first round in last summer's draft. I thought the Bulls getting him where they did was pretty fortunate. But in terms of best ball, right, like just to rehash for those that weren't tuned in last week, I don't see a path to like starting role until much later in the season. And again, even some of these guys that might come off the bench, like I'd rather have Keldon Johnson on my team than Buzelis this year as to where they're being drafted. But again, it's not a knock against the player for me. Coming back around here in round 10. See if I can get on one of the edges in that second draft, because then it gives me more time to run my mouth between picks. Connects in here, 4-3-2 build. Hugo with the 3-4-2. I'm also sitting on 3-4-2 here through 9 rounds. Wiggins. Oh, Hugo. Taking the Tari Eason off the board. I don't hate taking Mark Williams here. It's probably unnecessary. It's just going to be Drew for me. I have so much Chris Paul already. Again, another one of those takes that I'm holding strong on. Ranked Chris Paul 115, ADP 137. And this is the starting point guard for Victor Wembanyama Spurs, at least until the trade deadline, Chris Paul. That's one of the better guard values available top to bottom right now. ADP of 137. Right? Like mid 12th round ADP for starting Chris Paul. I don't know. Seems like a good value to me. Hartenstein, then Mark Williams. So Marky Burnsy takes Mark Williams. You love to see it. Weisberg on the clock here. We'll get back to the chat. I said, yeah, the thought process on Pajemski is the Warriors want him to shoot 8 to 10 threes a game, which is great, but Kuminga is going to get a real share of that offense and wants a big contract to boot. Yeah, and speaking of Kuminga, I was in a draft last night where Kuminga was my first wing on the team. I believe my start was Embiid. Who was the other big? There was somebody that fell. Yeah, okay. It was Embiid. Then I grabbed Ja. Then I got Chet in the 3rd round. And then Damian Lillard fell to me in like the early 40s. So Kuminga ended up being my first wing there and had to do some work to salvage that wing position. And again, like, going to need a lot to go right there. But if it does, and if Kuminga is that guy that can take a jump, then a build like that could maybe work. Not getting a wing in the first 4 rounds. But like it doesn't. It's even as much attention as I paid to the wing position after that start, it still didn't feel great. But being able to go Embiid, Chet, I think I picked up Drummond later on just as a little Embiid handcuff. And then starting Ja, Dame felt pretty good. We're on deck here. 4-4-2 build so far. What is in the background? Why does Drew have... What is around his head there? Got little coins on his head? Never seen that. All right, so a number of guards, right? Chris Paul still available here to me. That's probably going to be the pick again because I'm not enthused with all of these wing options down here. And again, by my ranks, this is a decent value already, even though I'm taking them 11 picks above ADP. We'll continue to add to the Chris Paul shares in this year's best ball portfolio. Hugo, Go, Shade, and Sharp. And we're moving through the 11th. Love getting one of those Utah guards there. Yeah, I agree, especially looking at the playoff schedules. Current ADP makes sense. Might have to reach for him at like 99, 86 is just too rich for me. Mike talking about Pajemski there. I agree. Weisberg saying, side note, doing a happy hour best ball show 5 p.m. Eastern today, team hold. And so shout out to not just Mike Weisberg, but Mike Zakarian over there at Team Hold. Always fun content over there at Team Hold. And like I said earlier, Mike, we got to get the mics on a draft here. Maybe do a little home and home in October once we really get into training camp and stuff. I'll talk to you. I'll message you guys in the DMs. You and Zakarian. Weisberg, love Modest as Summer League. Dude is a dog. I agree. I even liked like some of his like rhetoric leading up to the draft where he was like, yeah, let me play Ricochet one-on-one. I'm the best player in this class, etc. PG and DeMar co-signed him this week. Yeah. No, I like Bezos. And again, I really value the G League experience for those Ignite guys. I know that the team, right, is shut down because it didn't work overall. And there's certainly been some duds out of there, right? Like I'd say Marjon Beauchamp hasn't really panned out so far for Milwaukee. But I think what Modest did in the G last year was pretty impressive, considering the age and, you know, jumping right from high school, even if you're at the top level of the high school, you know, competition there. Huge jump to go from there to the G League. Taylor Hendricks, 134, another one of those wings that has been rising. Matthew says, as much as I love Tari and his fantasy points per minute, I put way too much exposure on him last year. Yeah, I was probably overexposed as well. That'll happen in the DFS world for me too. So I love me some Tari Eason. Coming back around in the hole here. So Connect on the clock, 443, 452 for Hugo, 542 for me. You can see some of those guys on the wing still available with 2 picks left till I'm on the clock here. Koulibaly, Cam Whitmore. There goes Russ Westbrook and Naz Reid. And I've got a decent amount of Whitmore already, so it's going to be Bilal Koulibaly for me here. That might be my first Koulibaly share. Pull the board back up here. Midway through round 12. So again, if you are ready to jump in with us on a second draft, just about 4 rounds left in this one. So stay ready. Pat Williams and Torrey Craig ahead of talking about Modest. Yeah, I mean, I'm a little less worried about Torrey Craig. That team can also play smaller. There's just a lot of uncertainty there, Chris. And again, it's not, I don't think any of us are saying that we don't like Modest. I think it's just that taking him where you have to at this point is a little bit rich for the group as a whole, right? But again, like I said earlier, like if you have stands on guys that are out of whack with where ADP is, like stand on them. That's how you can win tournaments like this. You know, the Mark Williams hype all the way gone this year after last year. I agree. I mean, he was my highest owned play last year. I drafted a lot earlier last year, or I drafted many more drafts like by this point last year compared to this year. Like I'm in the 20s this year. Like I got work to do over the next 5 weeks. But yeah, I got so much exposure to him when he was in like the 140s, and he was being drafted, right? I want to say ended up in the double digits, like ADP in the 90s last year, and then that back just couldn't stay healthy. So there's a number of guys on the board here that I would like to take shots on, but I don't think McCann is going to take my guy here. Yeah, so because I have Joel Embiid and Miles Turner, this is essentially, we'll call it like a 2.5 big build here. Because when I get Embiid, I want to lock in Andre Drummond as a little handcuff there. So getting him round 13, pick 150 overall. It's only 10 spots above ADP. I like getting that little bit of safety there at the big position when I get Embiid. And again, another guy you see enter the ranks near the bottom. But like if you've got Wemby, I'm really coming around to a last round Zach Collins pickup. Depending on how many other bigs you get up to that point, right? If you go Wemby and you only add one other big, right? I'm fine to make it a 3 big build if you can get Collins there, just as some insurance. And Hugo goes Matherin, and we're moving through round 13. No, I'm like 5 minutes behind here on the comments, so we'll try to catch up between these 2 picks. Modest going to get his minutes at some point this season, that's for sure. I agree, right? It's just if I'm drafting somebody in like right around 100 there, I want minutes for most of the season, not at some point this season. Jeff says, Zach drafts Spurs players, never would have guessed. Yeah, I mean, some of them, Chris Paul especially, very, very good value right now. like I said, I'm pretty sure that's my first share of Jeremy Sohan this season. Just trying to differentiate there in rounds like 9 and 10. Who are the 9 Bulls rotation players? It's not hard for me to see Modest playing even right away. But I don't think he DNPs to start the season. Right, far from it. But okay, even if he's 9 in the Bulls rotation, that's not super attractive to me. All right, so the 9 guys in that rotation be Giddey, Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Ayo Dosunmu, Torrey Craig, Pat Williams, Vooch, Jalen Smith, Modest. Modest is number 9 or 8 or 9. We're back in the hole here. Weisberg said, yeah, you get Hendricks last round as of 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And I think, honestly, I think I have him in the 140s. And even then, it feels like we're getting to the absolute limit of Taylor Hendricks, of where I feel comfortable taking him. Yeah, 100% agree on Koulibaly. I enjoy watching him play basketball much more than I like having him on a fantasy team. But again, similar to Sohan, I think my first or maybe second share of Bilal here. So if I get into your second, it will be. Oh yeah, there you go. All right, 5-5-3 build here. We're going to go ahead and grab another piece of Khalil Ware at 163 overall. After Kinnick went Grant Williams. Hugo went Obi Toppin. Noah Clowney 160. That ADP continues to rise. 5-6-3 build for me here now. 2 rounds to go. Mid 14th. Nice. Yeah, we'll talk, Mike, for sure. Chris says, if I get the 1 next draft, 100% taking Modest. So that's going to be a Modest in the 90s, right? You'll see. If you get the 1 next draft, Chris, I quit. I quit Underdog if you luckbox the 1 again. So I think I have 1 Wimby share through my first 20-something drafts. I have a couple slows active where I did get them. So the number in my exposures tab isn't accurate to the drafts that I still have active, but I feel like every other day I see the UNC DM come across my screen. Here's another Wemby team. Just taunting me. Oh, here you go. Matthew said, Chris, you're UNC. I feel like I drafted you a ton. Didn't know this is where all the best ball regs hang out. At least the Friday regulars here, Matthew. And glad that you found us, joined up. Hopefully we can get you in this next draft. And yeah, man, for Matthew or anybody else that is just checking out the stream for the first time this preseason or first time ever here at FTN Fantasy, welcome in. 1 p.m. Eastern every Friday between now and the start of the NBA regular season. You can also find my ranks free at ftnfantasy.com. Those have been updated today. And definitely encourage, if you look at those ranks, you see something here on the stream in a draft that you think is off, overvalued, undervalued, what have you, definitely chime in. Join the conversation. Dropping the link to the ranks there in the YouTube chat once again. Other pieces of best ball content this preseason. My best ball diary series will be back next Wednesday. Those will be bi-weekly. So you get 3 of them. Those will be behind the paywall. Subscriber only here at FTN Fantasy. But again, man, there's no better time to be around here than now, because those of you who are subscribers, I imagine you've been checking out Stats Hub and all the other great stuff we have on the football side this week. Just incredible amounts of data available to our subscribers. Shout out to the charting team. So Bub Carrington already off the board here. I don't have a ton of Malcolm Brogdon. I think I'll grab some Brogdon here now. Not an asset I expect to have at the end of the year, but always a good point per minute type of player. That'll probably end with just one more pick. That'll probably end my guards for this draft. We'll pull up the board. Let's talk about some of these late picks. After I took Ware there in round 14, we saw Bernsey pick up Okongwu. Weisberg got Ayo Dosunmu, Dalton Connect. UNC at the turn, of course it was UNC taking the Bub Carrington from me. Also Andrew Nemhard, like Nemhard there in the 15th round. Ron Holland, Dalton Connect, like I said, to Weisberg. Jovic there to Bernsey. Conley, I took Brogdon, then Hugo, taking Alex Caruso. And again, I do think, again, Alex Caruso, we talked a little bit about him last week. He's going so late here in the 15th and 16th round, and I know it's not an exciting fantasy asset, but he should slot into the Josh Giddey spot in that starting lineup, unless I'm missing something, and play significant minutes. Like, Alex Caruso is not somebody that Mark Daigneault has to take off the court because he can't guard shit, right? Like, I think Alex Caruso is going to play big minutes for that team. And so, again, it's not a super exciting fantasy asset game in, game out, but for where you can get him, I think it's a decent value. After Caruso, Gary Trent Jr. to Kinnick, another guy who's going to slot into a starting role with his new team, you would think. Bojan Bogdanovic, Vince Williams, Jalen Wilson, Sadiq Bey. Sadiq Bey, somebody that made it into the back end of the rankings here. On this week's update, of course, recovering from that ACL injury, but thinking about, does Sadiq Bey right when he recovers? I believe that surgery was in March, if I'm not mistaken. And I haven't, to be honest, seen an exact return date for Bey. So if somebody has, definitely fire that into the chat. But I don't think it's crazy to see Sadiq Bey play through the Wizards tank at the end of the year, coming back from the ACL. So grabbing him 15th, 16th round, I don't hate. Wendell Carter, slow-mo. We're coming around here for the last pick. I'm going to be looking for a wing here. Wing depth chart on my squad here: Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Chris Middleton, Jeremy Sohan, Bilal Coulibaly, Khalil Ware. With some of the top options based on my ranks at the position: Corey Kispert, Delano Banton, Brandon Clark, Jarris Walker, Carlo Matkovic, who's made an appearance in the ranks this week. There goes Caleb Martin. You see, yeah, UNC saying he's only got 25 drafts left. Yeah, but Matthew, that's what I want, at least. I want to see takes that differ. I don't want to miss anything, you know? It's hard to have what ends up being an accurate take on, more than 60, 70% of the entire league. Fire those takes in there. And yeah, Khalil Ware coming around for sure. Bronny got drafted by who? Who did that? I've got Anthony Simons at guard. I know he's a wing. I'll go ahead and add Delano Banton. Hope he's getting similar run during the tank at the end of this year as he was last year. Again, signing that new deal, if I recall correctly, with the Blazers. So closing out this draft, just 5 more picks. UNC will make the final pick of draft number 1 here today. UNC said, how early are you willing to take Drummond when you have an Embiid team? Probably the round before I got him, right? Like round 12, 140s, early 140s. I don't think you need to reach much more than that because ADP's sitting just over 160 right now, I believe. And I don't think many people, on average, right? You might run into a draft where somebody's gung-ho about Drummond as the backup to Embiid without Embiid on their team. I don't think you have to reach too much further than I did to get your hands on Drummond when you have Embiid in the first. Weiss was saying he's also taking Khalil Ware a ton in rounds 14 through 16. And let's pull that back up here. Let's check out the board. So again, my team finalized 6-7-3 build here to start off the stream on our Friday. Guards: LaMelo Ball, Jamal Murray, Anthony Simons, Drew Holiday, Chris Paul, Malcolm Brogdon. Wings, Jaylen Brown, Paul George, Chris Middleton, Jeremy Sohan, Bilal Coulibaly, Khalil Ware, Delano Banton, and Bigs, Joel Embiid, Miles Turner with the Andre Drummond handcuff. UNC was out of the 1 spot here. Wemby at 101, then 4 straight wings, DeMar DeRozan, Kawhi Leonard, Miles Bridges, McCall Bridges, 5 straight guards, RJ Barrett, Darius Garland, CJ McCollum, Terry Rozier, Bogdan Bogdanovic, closed out the draft, Max Strus, Bobby Portis, Draymond Green, Bob Carrington, Andrew Nembhard, Dyson Daniels. UNC, how are you feeling about that team? Again, Chris, somebody that has about 120 plus drafts already this draft season, so where does that one stack up? Weisberg drafting out of the 3. Went Giannis, Brunson, Markkanen, Giddey, and Mobley to start, bolstering that wing and guard depth. Devin Vassell and Tyler Hero. I like both of those picks. Aaron Gordon, PJ Washington on the wings. We talked a little bit about Aaron Gordon in the middle of the draft. Jakob Poeltl, Klay Thompson, Alex Sarr, Jaden McDaniels, Ayo Dosunmu, Dalton Connect, and KCP at 190 overall. Burnsy in the 4 spot went Luka, Julius Randle, De'Aaron Fox, Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga to start. Started 2-4-1 in the first 7 rounds. Amen Thompson round 6, Yusuf Nurkic round 7. Jordan Poole, Keontae George, Mark Williams, Walker Kessler, Cam Whitmore, Kevin Porter Jr., who the entire field is coming around on. I also have seen him come up my ranks a good bit since they were first released. I think we're a month since that first ranks drop happened. Onyeka Okongwu, Nikola Jovic, Cody Williams. Hugo out of the 7 spot. Hugo, I don't know if this was your first draft of the season or not. I know you just, I think, got into your draft mode here on the NBA side of things after NFL Week 1. But Hugo out of the 7 went Paolo, Şengün, Jalen Johnson, Jalen Williams, J-Dub, that is, Fred VanVleet. Jalen Duren in the 6th, Oscar Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis. I love that TJD pick there in round 8. Colin Sexton, Tari Eason, Shaden Sharp, Naz Reid, Ben Mathurin, Obi Toppin, Alex Caruso, Brandon Clark, and then Kinnick out of the 8. Started double wing, Jason Tatum, Kevin Durant, then Bam Adebayo, Kyrie, Brandon Ingram, Desmond Bane, Derek White, D'Angelo Russell, Ivica Zubac, Andrew Wiggins, Daniel Gafford, Russ Westbrook, DeAndre Hunter, Grant Williams, Gary Trent Jr., Corey Kispert. How are you guys feeling about those teams? Kinnick. For me on that team, I really like the top end of it. Wing might get a little dicey after Tatum Durant. How are we feeling about Brandon Ingram? I know we were talking about it last week. I'm still not really worried about his availability. But I know we were talking last week about, the Pelicans had voluntary workouts out in California, I believe, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Only member of the team that didn't show up was Brandon Ingram. So again, I think we got, again, as we tend to do here on these Friday streams, a pretty strong draft room. Did we have any of the teams that we don't, these anonymous teams around us? Any teams that we should be crushing here? I think the 11 spot looks pretty tough to me. That team drafting out of the 11 spot, their wings, Michael Porter Jr., Jabari Smith, Jaime Jaquez, Modest Buzelis, Zachary Richache, Taylor Hendricks, Jalen Wilson, Kyle Anderson. That's tough. It's a shallow wing position to me. Let's check back in on the chat here. And we can go ahead. Let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump in another draft. Let's get in this draft room. Let's get it started. Because, again, last week it took us an hour to... Oh! I hope you guys were in the draft room waiting for me. I was the last one in. And we're at the 3. Burnsy gets the 101. I'm at the 3. Looks like Matt Harrison in there at the 4, I believe. Good to see you, Matt, if you're tuned in. Boardman gets paid. Who's on my corner here? Is that you, Matthew Edward? Who's the Boardman gets paid? There's only room for one Kawhi Leonard username in a draft room. Drew Dinkmeyer at number 9. Weisberg at the 12. See Matthew Edward in here as unfiltered. Where's Matthew? Okay, at the 10. So Matthew Edward at the 10. Let me catch up here. As we wait for this draft to start, Hugo said, I actually like that team. Rare 5-wing team for me, but both McCall and DeMar I think should be fine. Plenty of depth and some upside late at guard. I agree. Hugo's first draft, so here we go. Glad to be popping your best ball cherry here for the 24-25 season, Hugo. Mike said, I like the team. If I were to criticize it, I might have gone wing to start, then focus on guard. So, of course, this room not going to let me get a Jokic or a Wemby at 3, but we will take Giannis and happily move along. Matthew saying, yeah, how is TJD still listed as a wing? Yeah, if you go over, I saw DraftKings dropped their contest. Relative to Underdog, I'm not a fan of the DraftKings best ball product. Sabonis, Wemby, I think both of those guys are wings over there. Just kind of silly. Both sites, of course, going to have some positional, some questionable guys positionally every year, but just not as big of a fan of the DraftKings stuff over there. I still will draft. Like, don't get me wrong. I'll still be in those draft rooms over there at DK, but I prefer UD. UNC saying Ingram in the late 50s for me, that last wing for me in that tier, basically. Yeah, that's fair. Jeff saying BI's a potential steal, just got to take him and hope for the best. Yeah, especially right if you're wing needy in that range of the draft, right? In the 50s. If he slips into the 60s too. I agree. Matthew says he thinks that DeJounte will actually help Ingram if he wants to play like he can, but doesn't seem that interested in ball for some reason. Yeah, I don't know if it's interested in ball or just not interested in playing ball in New Orleans with that team. I don't know. I don't know. So UNC missed. Hugo missed it. Sorry, boys. We'll see how I feel after this one, man. If we can fill these drafts right away like we did these first two, maybe I stick around for a third here today. Matthew Harrison said, I didn't have YouTube notifications turned on for the channel, so I missed the first draft. That has been fixed. Awesome. I love to hear it, Matthew. And anybody else tuned in, again, you can hit the notifications for the channel, but at least hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel, right? Help us grow the channel here at FTN Fantasy. Weisberg up on the clock. Let's take a look at how this first round has played out after I took Giannis, Luka, SGA, Embiid, Tatum, Sabonis, Brow, Paolo goes to Matt at 10. So Matthew Edward, I'm going to call you Matt. I'm going to call Matthew Harrison Matty, if that's okay with you guys, since we got two Matts in here. After Paolo, Trae Young, Weisberg at the turn, Scotty Barnes, LeBron James. You got to love it. I've got Scotty over Paolo now, just schedule-wise. I am now very interested to see which one of me or Jeff are right about the schedule, which one of us needs to adjust. Could totally be me. See, Chris said, Dink took my spot. Damn, yeah. It says, UNC says he'll be around for a third if we have time. Yeah, so I don't see why not. We've just been live just under an hour here, and we're already in round 2 of draft number 2. After Weisberg got LeBron, Ant went, Matt took KD, Halliburton, Ja. And now coming back around mid-round 2. Have a feeling I'm not going to like drafting next to Maddie too much. Maddie on one side, Burnsy on the other side. But we'll see. And Jeff says, would love a Scotty Barnes LeBron start. Good start. I agree. Weisberg said, tough to pass on Ant. But yeah, I agree. That's the only reason that Anthony Edwards is down. Well, schedule and positionality. Why he's behind ADP in my ranks. you're not doing it wrong by drafting Anthony Edwards, in the late first, early second. Far from it. I will go ahead. Well, I'm going to make it tough on you guys here at the top. Go Julius Randle. We're going to make it tough on Maddie. We're going to make it tough on Burnsy. We're going to take those wings. Matt said, yeah, I don't have enough Paolo shares, so I need to mix up my exposure. Yeah, and 10, totally fine with Paolo. I have a lot of Paolo already. Burnsy goes LaMelo. Again, Jokic LaMelo start is pretty nice. And Spider Mitchell. And yeah, I thought this might be able to happen, so I will gladly scoop up Chet Holmgren at pick 27. So the Giannis, Julius Randle, Chet Holmgren start here for the good guys. Hey, good to see Terrence. I feel like you were in here with us a lot last year. Terrence saying, what's your expectation with Phoenix? I love the addition of Tyus Jones. Like NBA expectation or like breaking down the team fantasy wise? I think the addition of Tyus Jones to the Suns is fantastic. Like all things considered, right? They got him on a vet minimum, which is ridiculous for the caliber of guard that Tyus Jones is. I think they just continue to buy into trying to outscore everybody. But I think you're sliding Tyus Jones in there and everybody else down a spot. I would expect Tyus, Booker, Beal, Durant, Nurkic, right? Anybody else have any other expectation for that starting lineup? Yeah, because I knew that name sounded familiar, Terrence. Good to see you again. Coming to Weisberg here at the 3-4 turn. Let's check out the rest of round 3 after I went Chet. Maddie went Bam, Curry, Dame, James Harden, Lauri Markkanen, Kawhi Leonard, Zion at 34. Matt picked up Zion. So Paolo, KD, Zion, very strong start, in my opinion, there. Weisberg here goes Tyrese Maxey. And Cade Cunningham. Strong start out of the 12 spot as well. And we're into round 4. Just going to leave the board up here. Mike D'Antoni reincarnated in Phoenix. Yeah, I mean, and I think, right, like Mike Budenholzer. I know the Milwaukee faithful, they have some things to say about him, but at the end of the day, this is a championship-winning coach that knows how to win games in the regular season, right? You think about what those Bud teams did in Atlanta about a decade ago. Terrence says, try to hop in the next one if you fire one up. Yeah, we'll go ahead. We'll run a third here today. We got enough people tuned in here that want to draft, right? That I think we have no trouble filling it up. Again, we'll cross our fingers on that. Wouldn't have thought we would have had to wait an hour last week. Weisberg says he likes Cade's upside over DJ. I agree. 100%. The DJ move fantasy-wise to the Pels feels lateral to me. Matt says, yeah, same. Had his fingers crossed that he would drop to him. But again, like adding DJ to Paolo, KD, Zion, again, feels just fine. I just don't look at DJ there and think, oh, he's going to really go above and beyond what he's done in Atlanta. Right? Like he's not stepping into it's more Josh Giddey season here. He's not stepping into a 2020, 2021 Spurs role, right? Where he's like a triple-double threat every night. That's just not going to happen here in New Orleans. Just like it didn't happen in Atlanta, right? Let's see. I'm coming back up on the clock here. Cat, Jamal Murray, McCall Bridges goes off the board there. So I took Jamal Murray in the last draft. And again, I do have him ranked above J-Dub. ADP is the opposite. And I have more Jamal Murray than Jalen Williams. So even though I do have Chet already on the team, we'll go ahead and we'll have a little thunder pair here in the first 5 rounds. We'll get some J-Dub exposure there. So for me through the first 5, Giddey, J-Dub, Giannis, Julius Randle, Chet Holmgren. Feeling pretty good about that start. Burnsy on the 4-5 turn added 2 wings to his start, so he's now got Jokic, LaMelo, Spider, Kyle Kuzma, Jonathan Kuminga. Matty out of the 4, Luka, De'Aaron Fox, Bam Adebayo, 2 wings for him as well. Brandon Miller, Brandon Ingram. Let's go, Brandon. Coming here mid-5th round. Towns and Gobert. I hate that Gobert pick. Already having Embiid in the fold. Jeff says, question will start from the 5 spot. Shea, Brunson, Steph, Franz, Cat. So you think it might be an auto? It might be. I didn't see the timing on that. We'll keep an eye on the 5 spot. It's not an egregious start. It's not ideal, though. Matt said, yep, I think could get close to 10 assists per game on the Pels. Maybe. Maybe. It's other guys that need the ball on that team, just the way they play, right? BI is one of them. Zion's got to handle the rock in the half court. Hollywood Brown's shoulder injury recovery is months, not weeks. Too bad. Jaren Jackson, Jamal Murray, Manuel Quickley, Fred VanVleet, Vooch, Tobias Harris, Jared Allen. The Tobias pick, Weisberg, is that just like best wing available right there? I feel like it is. I'm not opposed to taking Tobias around there. Every time I take him, I'm just not like, I'm not hyped about it, right? I'm not sending UNC a screenshot of my team when I draft Tobias Harris, right? Weisberg said the run of bigs. Yeah, I mean, Cat, Gobert, Triple J, Vooch, all in the 7 picks before Weisberg got back on the clock there. All right, so 5 spot coming up. We'll see what the 5 is doing here. Dr. Dargo. Cam Thomas, Desmond Bain, Denny Avdia, Michael Porter Jr. Terrence said they need to get rid of CJ McCollum. Yeah. I mean, he's off the bench. He's right. You got to bring him off the bench now. And what's the market for CJ McCollum? Probably not too hot. All right, Jeff, I think you're right about the 5 spot here. And we're back on the clock. 2-2-1 build so far. There's Miles Turner sitting for me there, right? Sitting there again. I do like that. We're going to go ahead and grab Miles Turner again. 2-2-2 build to start for the second straight draft. We'll see what happens on the turn here. After Maddie took Duran, right before I took Miles, Devin Vassell off the board at 71. All right, so I want to pick up one of Derek White or Darius Garland here. It is going to be D. White for me. Got a decent amount of Darius Garland in the portfolio already. So we're off and running here in round 7. Here goes Keegan Murray. Is this an auto? Once you miss 2 picks, though, doesn't it just auto you? I don't know. Dr. Dargo here has the concept of a team. Right? 4-1-1 to start. We'll see what happens here in round 7. That's a good eye there, Jeff. Claxton. See, it looked like that came off the board with like a second or 2 left. They might be there. I don't know. Let's see. Weisberg, best wing available. Talking about Tobias, I think, right? Higher upside in here than people realize, especially in the first 2/3 of the season. My only hesitation there, Weisberg, right, is that he could get shut down if the Pistons are tanking again at the end of the year. But again, you're taking him, he's round 5, round 6. And as your third wing, you don't hate it at all. Hugo said, I like that guard rotation in NOLA if they keep CJ. Yeah, for real hoops, I agree. For our fantasy purposes, not so much. Matt says he's a fan of Jarrett Allen in Weisberg's specific build. And again, Matt on the clock right now here with the 3-2-1 build so far. DeAndre Ayton to Matt, so 3-2-2 now. And Weisberg with a 2-3-1 through 6 rounds on deck for 2 at the turn. Terrence said finished a drafters NBA season long. I think I prefer a 10-man draft to a 12-man. Well, it's certainly easier. Only good thing about drafters is you can usually get overlay there. Much prefer a DraftKings draft than drafters, but that's just me. Jess says, with a team like this, I'd try to grab Klingon late, a talented rookie with a huge end-of-year ceiling, especially if Ayton gets rested, trade it. Jeff, are you referring to Matt's team at the 10? Whose team? We got like 6 of us in here. So after I went D. White at pick 75, Keegan Murray goes to Maddie, then Claxton, CJ McCollum, RJ Barrett, Jordan Poole, Darius Garland. And Dink getting Darius Garland at 81. Not bad. DeAndre Ayton goes to Matt. D'Lo. There you go, Iceberg. A little Middleton in your life. You love to see it. Especially at 84, right? It's the thing. Like, you don't have to take Middleton as high as I have him ranked. Because there's still that, 11 pick, 12 pick gap or something like that at this point. Maybe even more. I think it's more in the upper teens. Round 8, Reeves, Hero, Simons, John Collins, Scoot Henderson, Jeremy Grant, OG Anunoby. It's going to be wing time here. Osser, TJD, Jaime Jaquez, Trey Murphy, PJ Washington would be the top 5 wings available at this point. And the 5 spot, Jaime Jaquez. See what Matty does here. 2-3-2 build so far. And Trey Murphy. I'll grab an Osser share. Got so much Jackson Davis. Osser may be a guy that benefits from Tobias Harris sitting later in the year, right? We have any Pistons guys in here? Matty, I feel like, for some reason, I feel like you said you were a Pistons guy. Maybe I'm misremembering. I would be interested to hear how somebody who's locked in on the Pistons knows or what they think about Osser. Osser Thompson was one of the biggest money makers to start the regular season last year. Rebound lines were set at like 5.5 for the first 2 weeks, and the guy was getting 30-plus minutes. Let's see what we got here. Weisberg, Sand. I like down there. That's big with some value, especially given I didn't have a big Phil Gross clicking Middleton, but I hear Zach's argument on Middleton. And yeah, and again, right, like you can hear the argument and still not want to take him where I have him ranked and still get him closer to ADP as you did. So I think that's well done by you. I'm back up here, 15 seconds, 3-3-2. And this is where I am going to be able to, or not be able to, I am going to grab Colin Sexton, getting one of those Jazz guards here in the 9th. As Matty grabs Hart, we'll pull the board back up. See, Jess says, few teams that move makes sense. A team with 2 bigs early like yours or a team that needs 4. Okay, I got you. Talking about Klingon. And we were talking about Klingon last week pretty extensively too, right? Matt said Weisberg took both his guys on the turn. Jaime looked cheeks in his open run the other day. Yeah, I'm not. What open run was it? I missed that. Was it like a pro-am? Was it? I'm not taking too much away from an early September scrimmage or pickup game. But maybe I missed something like a little more official. Okay, yeah, so Matty is a Pistons fan. Matty, if you're still tuned in and you can respond in the chat, would love to hear some Osser Thompson takes relative to his ADP. UNC said take Modest. Who, me? Oh, I didn't even see the Modest went right before me. Oh, man. I still wasn't going to take him at 99, Chris. But also, like, he's probably not in a starting role to begin the year, right? So maybe he should be closer to Modest in the ranks. Right? They brought in those. It's not just Tobias there now, right? It's Beasley's there, right? Tim Hardaway in the Q Grimes trade. If I'm Detroit, I still want to play Osser Thompson as many minutes as I can, but maybe not, you know. That's why I'm sitting here on a Friday talking to you guys instead of preparing in a front office for an NBA season. But I would like to see Osser get more time, not just because I just drafted him. Both Thompson brothers, right? So after Matty took Hart, Nurkic went to the 5 spot. Beal, Rozier, Keontae George, Zubac, Jeremy Sohan went to Matt, Reese Ashe, Weisberg grabs Porzingis and J-Val. So up to 3 bigs now there. Then Zach Edey. We're coming back around here in round 10. So Haka is just a scrimmage. Was that a Heat open scrimmage? Yeah, Osser was crushing. Fell off a cliff because once you get a couple weeks of film rather on a guy like that, let his ass shoot. But also, right then he got kind of demoted to the bench and then dealt with the blood clots at the end of the season, right? I still think he can be a really, really strong rotation player in the league. For 3-2 build here. Let's throw Clay in the mix and call them the Thompson triplets. Only excited for 2 of those Thompsons. Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze listed questionable. Jordan Addison is out. So Maddie back on the clock here. 4-3-2 for me. It's Tari Eason time. So through 10 rounds, I got the 4-4-2 working. Guards, Josh Giddey, J. Dub, Derek White, Colin Sexton. Wings, Giannis, Julius Randle, Oscar Thompson, Tari Eason. Biggs, Chet Holmgren, Miles Turner. Bogdan off the board to the 2 spot. Burnsy on the clock for a pair of picks. Malik Monk is the first. Shaden Sharp is the second. We're into round 11. And I'm going to go ahead and take some Mark Williams there. We'll be done with bigs through 11 rounds. 4-4-3. So adding Mark Williams to Chet Holmgren and Miles Turner. Pull that board back up with Maddie on the clock. He picks up Klay Thompson. Let's see. So much talent there in Detroit with Oster. Yeah, a lot of raw talent. Or, prospective talent. Nobody on the team's really been none of those young guys have ever been able to really put it all together. I think Cade to stay healthy, man. Yeah, this is not the best ROI room. That is another thing. That is another thing. So it's maybe not the worst thing if, we do 3 drafts here on a Friday and you miss one of them. Maybe not the worst thing. Weisberg said, thought process on the double big there, right? And Weisberg went KP, Jonas Valanciunas. So that KP is good value if he comes back in December. He fell way below ADP there. Thought very seriously about Zach Edey instead of JV. I got no issue with Kristaps Porzingis at 108. Again, I feel like we had a decent conversation about him last week or the week before, right? It's just like the risk where he was going, or even where he's still going, right? I think it's mid to low 90s. 2 weeks ago, he was in the 80s. And could come back December, right? Could be early to mid-January. Maybe not playing back-to-backs. Maybe minutes limits when he is out there, at least for the first few weeks, right? But in terms of where you got those two, I got no issue with it. Just saying the 5 spot has 4 bigs. They def have to be on auto. Yeah, you might be right. I think they got Towns, Claxton, Nurkic, Lively. So they're running a 4-3-4 right now. And then Weisberg, Tyus Jones, Chris Paul there at 132, 133. I love that turn right there. Get 2 starting point guards at 11 and 12. Taylor Hendricks, 130s once again. Pick 134. Matt picks up Naz Reid. We're about halfway through round 12 here. 4-4-3 build, so I'm going to filter the bigs out of my list here. Still want to know who Boardman gets paid as. Again, on my corner there. Next thing you know, we'll have a username of Apple Time in here. I took Koulibaly last time. I have Tari Eason. So not super excited to add Cam Whitmore. Dante DiVincenzo, Ben Mathurin, Kevin Porter, Alex Caruso, the top guards available. Patrick Williams, Obi Toppin. Based off my ranks, again. There goes DiVincenzo. He's off the board. And here's Maddie, 452. This might be the first snipe here. See what Maddie does. Okay, he went Jaden McDaniels. I am going to surpass Ben Mathurin in favor of Kevin Porter Jr. here. Again, I've been a little bit higher on Ben Mathurin than ADP, so I feel like I've got plenty of shares so far. We'll go KPJ. Maybe the hype on Kevin Porter Jr. getting, it's getting up there. I mean, to the realm where we can slow down a little bit, but again, I do think that if James Harden goes down, that's probably your starting point guard there. Could be Bones Highland, but I just think KPJ's a better player. Be interested to hear what folks think about that. We'll grab Ben Mathurin on the comeback here. We can be done with guards. We'll pull the board back up as we make our way into the 13th. Okay, here's Matt. He says, was on a work call, so just catching up with the stream. It all comes down to if Osser can at least knock down some corner threes at a decent clip. He did decently enough down the stretch, though, so fingers crossed. Yeah, I think that's glad to hear that my thoughts on him aren't like too far away from where the Pistons diehard is here. You know, new coaching regime there too, right? Do you think do you have him in your opening day 5, Maddie? Because like Cade, Tobias, Duran for sure, right? But then Ivy, Osser, Beef Stew, Tim Hardaway, Malik Beasley. Like, what are the other two? Ron Holland. Like, I don't think Holland's in there, but interested to hear what your thoughts there are. Jeff says, Edey probably got the best landing spot of all the rookies. I think even when Porzingis returns, he could be on a minutes limit to keep him fresh for the playoffs. Questionable ceiling. Yeah, so I think rehashing kind of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago. I think similar takes coming from kind of the same guys here. Definitely agree that Edey, like if you're talking about playing time right away in fantasy production, like he probably has the best chance. Right off the rip, at least. UNC saying, yeah, Hendricks ADP out of control. It's climbing so fast, man. And I just don't know where it comes from right away. Again, he's in the rotation. Like he's similar to Modest. Is that fair? And I'd rather have Modest. And I think both of them are being overdrafted at this point, at least through the 2 drafts that we've done today, right? I have not really seen Hendricks in the high 130s like we have both drafts today. After I went Mathurin, Maddie went Pat Williams, then John Isaac, Daniel Gafford, DeAndre Hunter, Malcolm Brogdon, Cam Whitmore, Ayo Dosunmu, Noah Clowney, Weisberg at the turn, Marcus Smart, Khalil Ware, another strong turn, unsurprising. And we're into round 14. So 3 rounds left here. UNC, if you are available to do this, jump into the next lobby and tell us how many spots there are. We've got about 2.5 rounds left here. It's risky, so if you don't want to do that and get put in, if you're the last one, you get put in a room. I understand. But I want to be able to, I don't want to do a private draft with us. We could fill it, but I'd rather us keep cranking out the double dribble drafts. but I also want as many of us to be in the draft room as possible. So after Weisberg went where, you get Bojan. Matt takes Gigi Jackson. So Matt, not worried about the broken foot? I mean, he's going to come back and play, right? He'll probably miss 2 months. I took Gigi out of my ranks for what it's worth when that news came across. Surgery was on the 5th. At least a 3-month time span, if I recall correctly. Karis LeVert, Ron Holland, Norman Powell. Here we go. Let's see. What's going on with the Hendricks ADP? Yeah, good late schedule on a team that should be tanking. I agree. It's just like 130s. It's too high. Matt saying that's the benefit of drafting throughout, though. KPJ is a legit NBA starter. Yep. And look, man, I said it last year when I was grabbing Miles Bridges shares at 90 or in the triple digits or whatever it is. Like, I'm not drafting based on the, my morals and values. I'm drafting based off building the best fantasy team. And I think KPJ in the 140s, 150s, 160s is a pretty good pick. Okay, so Norm Powell, Harrison Barnes, Obi Toppin, 4.72. For Maddie, I'm 6'4'3", so you would think, yeah, there you go, Reed Shepard off the board. We'll go ahead and get Nikola Jovic on the squad. 2 rounds to go here. Burnsy on deck for 2. See, KPJ going so late it doesn't matter yet. His ceiling is pretty high. That's it. Got my 20+% 3-4 weeks ago. And Maddie saying, looking like Cade, Ivy, Tobias, Duran, Fontecchio might be the front runner for the second forward spot to stretch the floor. As we're back on the clock, and this is where I will get my Jalen Wilson share for the day. I'll bring the board back up as Maddie's back on the clock. He goes Andrew Nemhard. Okay, so you've got a round and a half to go. But I'm going to say right now, you will see me right now go back into the lobby, jump into the next draft room. Everybody else go do that. We've got 5 to go, and I know we already have UNC and Hugo in there who had to sit out of this current draft. So there's my not slow. And so we'll be off and running pretty much right away there. But I'm very interested, getting back to what Maddie was saying here about the Pistons. Fontecchio. I don't think that's bad from like a real basketball standpoint, but for where the team is at, I don't know. It's something to watch. That's good insight, Maddie. Don't see the Pistons putting 2 non-shooters on the floor next to Kidd to start games. That's fair. That's fair. Terrence likes the KPJ pick. 7 to roll right now. There you go. Appreciate you, UNC, and Hugo, who also let me know in the FTN Fantasy Discord. Here you go. There's Hugo. 6 to go. Get in here. Weisberg says, where to me was the best available wing with upside, especially given my wings already. Got to shoot for lottery tickets at this point. I don't think this is my best team, but it's close. So Weisberg so far, as he's on the clock here for his final 2 picks, guards of Maxey, Cade, Austin Reeves, Tyus Jones, Chris Paul, Marcus Smart. Wings, Scotty Barnes, LeBron, Tobias, Chris Middleton, Khalil Ware. Bigs, Jarrett Allen, KP, J Val, Draymond. And the final pick here from Weisberg, KCP. I agree, man. That is a very strong team. I think that's well done by you. So we're into the final round here of draft number 2. Again, jump into the next available draft room in the double dribble. We will do one more here. I mean, we're going to get 3 drafts in less time than we got 2 last week. That's how you know it's NBA time, right? Weisberg saying dipping out for the next draft. We'll appreciate you tuning in here and hanging out, Mike. And again, we'll touch base, you, me, and Zakarian on linking up for some more streams. Again, and those of you who want to keep drafting throughout the afternoon, Weisberg saying, I believe what was it, 5 p.m. Eastern on the Team Hold YouTube channel for some more drafts today. I'll definitely be stopping by. I don't know if I can draft with you guys at that point, but I'll have the stream on for sure. Definitely want to hear you guys talking drafts. Hugo said, I had to sit out of this draft, which is a travesty. Yeah, well, we're getting going on that third one. Just one to fill. And again, just 6 more picks here in draft number 2. Yeah, 5 p.m. Eastern over on that Team Hold YouTube channel. You can go check those guys out later this afternoon. Looks like that draft starting in 60 seconds. So we will jump right over to that one just to finish this one out. Matt at the 10 spot. Wings of Paolo, KD, Sohan, Oubre, Gigi, Fontecchio. Guards, DeJounte, Van Vliet, Cam Thomas, Anthony Simons, Jaden Ivey, Ayo DeSumo, Alex Caruso. Bigs of DeAndre Ayton, Zion Williamson, Naz Reid. So that was Matt's team drafting out of the 10 spot. I'm closing things out here. We'll go with give me a Carlo Matkovic share here in round 16. So my guards on this team, Giddey, J-Dub, D. White, Colin Sexton, KPJ, Ben Mathurin, Wings, Giannis, Julius Randle, Oscar Thompson, Tari Eason, Nikola Jovic, Jalen Wilson, Carlo Matkovic, Biggs, Chet, Miles Turner, Mark Williams. We're going to go ahead. We're going to jump over to that other draft because I believe it is underway. So we'll check out. Am I on the clock? I am. And I'm at the 2. And I've got my 101 dropping to me, Jokic. So no complaints from me today on the draft positions. Hugo at the 4. Looks like Dinkmeyer at the 5. Maddie in there at the 7. Accidental Victory is one of you guys, right? Matt at the 11. UNC at the 12. Suck it, Chris. That's what you get for all those ones. Yeah, 1 to 12 feels bad, man. Matt not super happy with the last draft. I thought you'd, again, I think the teams in these rooms are going to be a little bit thinner. We're just maybe not as crazy as some of the teams you can build, maybe like if you get into a draft in the middle of the night or something, right? Oh, that's right. That's Jeff. Nice. Jeff jumping in at the 9. So pull the board up here. Again, this is draft 3 of the afternoon. This will be the 3rd and final of the day. Again, just a reminder, if you've tuned in over the last few minutes, every Friday we're here on the FTN Fantasy YouTube and Twitter pages, draft and double dribble teams, talking NBA best ball. You can find my top 200 ranks updated today, actually, ftnfantasy.com. Those are free. My best ball diary article series coming back this year for the 4th year. That first one will drop on Wednesday the 18th, bi-weekly until the beginning of the season. And, of course, if you haven't subbed at FTN Fantasy yet, I would encourage you to come check us out. All the football content that is swirling around FTN, from season long, from betting, the DFS side, right? The For the Numbers podcast with Adam Pfeiffer, all powered by Stats Hub, right? All of our FTN data just churning out. Really, I think the best table of data, football-wise, that you can find in the industry. Price considered. Urge you to check out FTN Fantasy. The Stats Hub, just incredible. And you can sign up at Underdog. If you haven't yet, promo code FTN gets you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $1,000 right now. And for good measure, a special discounted pick in their pick'em games. When you sign up with that promo code FTN over there at Underdog Fantasy. So I'm at the 2, Hugo at the 4. Maddie at the 7, Jeff at the 9, Matt at the 11, and Chris at the 12. Chris going guard at the 12, Trey and Tyrese Halliburton. So again, mixing things up there, right? Scotty Barnes and Paolo to Matt. You probably feel better about that start than last draft, maybe, Matt, if I recall correctly. Jeff got LeBron at 16. Pretty nice start there. Maddie goes Tatum and Pascal Siakam, double wing start. Hugo, Giannis, and LaMelo. I think you gotta like that. And we'll see what happens here. Yep, we'll take another Jaylen Brown share. Get my wings going, pair him with the Joker. And we're back up on the clock here momentarily out of the 2 spot. To be honest, I'm a little nervy about the wings that could be available when I come back around. So I'm considering my namesake here. I could also Jokic, Chet, and just be done with bigs. Which I think is what I'm going to do here. De'Aaron Fox is really strong as well, though. You're going to go too big. Picked up 2 Chet shares today. All right, let's pull that board back up. Check in on the chat. Maddie saying, love the Barnes Banchero start. I agree. AD LeBron start. And Jeff with the Lakers start. Got the LeBron AD stack. Maybe LeBron's ADP rises and that combo becomes impossible. Could be unique. Yeah, I think it's going to be fairly unique regardless. And I don't hate that pairing. Yeah, UNC. This is what I thought when I saw you go Trey and Hallie. So much double wing at 12. Want to get a little bit different with the build. Probably easier for you to grab Modest here once we get a couple rounds in, right? Get down into rounds 9, 10, 11. He said, I think UNC was being nice. Burnsy says, thanks for the drafts. Mistakes were made. It was fun. Cheers. We'll listen to the rest of the stream later tonight. Glad you're able to drive over to Niagara Falls there, Mark, and jump in some drafts with us today. Always appreciate you hanging out. UNC, I do worry about Paolo's late schedule cooling on him late here. Yeah, see, that's what caused him to tick down in the ranks this week, going through that playoff schedule. Jeff said his early pick and not getting left behind at winning must feel nice. Yeah, for sure. I really considered Kawhi there to bolster those wings, but took the chance that a decent wing will be available to me at 47 and or 50. So after I went Chet, see Şengün, Hugo goes De'Aaron Fox, Bam Adebayo, Zion Williamson, Maddie grabs Steph, then Dame, Jeff grabbed Kawhi. So Jeff now, Brown, Kawhi, DeJounte, pretty strong start there for Jeff. Markkanen, Matt grabbed Maxey and Cade to pair with his Scotty and Paolo. Strong start there as well. And UNC goes to Mar and James Harden. UNC, you got to have a decent amount of James Harden now. I feel like I see you taking him a good bit. Not that I like or dislike it, but he's got to be up there for you in terms of those, third, fourth round guards. So then Paul George, Miles Bridges, Evan Mobley goes to Maddie. So Maddie with Tatum, Siakam, Steph, and Mobley. The 6th spot. Is this, Terrence, is that you? Maybe not. I don't remember your username at all. It could be. Starts with a T. Joel Embiid, Donovan Mitchell, Zion Williamson, Franz Wagner. So the double big start. Out of the 5 spot here, SGA, Julius Randle, Bam Adebayo. That's on the clock. Hugo on deck. Kuzma at 44. He goes Cat. So the Chet gamble going to pay off here, I think, which feels nice. Yeah, we'll grab Jimmy Buckets. The 0-2-2 start through 4 rounds. Feels okay. There goes Giddy. All right. We will take Kyrie Irving at 50. So through 5 rounds, Kyrie, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Nikola Jokic, Chet Holmgren. I'm biased, but I like that start. We are off and running in round 5 here. Let's see. Trying to catch up on you guys in the chat here. Matt saying, do I love Chet? Yeah, I mean, I think for me, Chet in the 3rd round is pretty strong, especially if you don't like. This is not I don't typically pick up Wemby and Jokic in the 1st round and then get Chet as well. So this is a little bit of a different build for me here. Like I said, like felt pretty risky grabbing him there, given I didn't have any guards and only 1 wing. But the way it worked out on the 4-5 turn feels pretty nice. And yeah, but again, I'm a huge Chet believer. I was one of what felt like the few saying I would have taken him 1 in that draft. And again, like just couldn't really go wrong with Here Paolo, right? Hugo said, didn't want to go 2 guards, but Fox and Ball was nice. I'm about to piss people off with the reaches at wing and big. So looking at Hugo, started Giannis, then LaMelo, Fox, as he said, Karl Anthony Towns, Jarrett Allen in the fold here in rounds 4 and 5 after he took Jarrett Allen, Brandon Ingram, Brandon Miller, McCall Bridges, Fred VanVleet, and Jeff back up on the clock here. And Jeff saying, drafting the oldest team on Underdog, right? Anthony Davis, LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, DeJounte Murray. You get some youth in there. J-Dub in round 5. Matt says, PG gone now. Makes sense. He can jump in. Who are we talking about? Matt? Yeah, T-Bear. See, I think that is Terrence. Jeff thinks the same. Yeah, it is. Nice. There's Terrence. All right, sweet. So Terrence at the 6. Terrence went Embiid, Spider, Zion, Franz, Brandon Miller. Which, like, the fact that Franz and Miller fell, I like that start a lot. Again, it's not too dissimilar from what I've got, right? I'm 1-2-2 right now, so is Terrence. The 2 elite bigs in the first 3 rounds. When you see Matt at the 11 now, 3-3-0, picked up Jamal Murray, Tobias Harris. UNC also 3-3-0, picked up Kuminga and MPJ. So keep our eye on Matt and Chris there in the 11 and 12, right? You guys battling it out for some of these value bigs is going to be interesting to watch. See, UNC says, been more aggressive on Harden the last month or so. If anything happens to Kawhi, it's Harden Rockets. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he can get to that type of production anymore. Again, like the production he can get to is still elite, right? But like Rockets Harden is like all time. I don't know if he's got that still in him. But I agree with the premise. Well, Terrence says got distracted at work and auto-picked. Well, man, you're doing a pretty good job through 6 rounds in my eyes. Alman Thompson to Hugo. We're coming back around here. 1-2-2 build. And looking guard here. I went Derek White last draft. I've got Jaylen Brown in the fold. So this is probably, well, you know what? I don't have a ton of Devin Vassell. So that's the homer pick here for sure. But I think it's going to be Darius Garland for me. Another guy who, like you talk about, right, Chris bringing up, you know, if Kawhi goes down or rests, James Harden, the ceiling you can see on him. How about Darius Garland if Spider Mitchell misses again? Matt said he auto picked Tobias as well. It's not the worst. All right, we're back up on the clock here. Devin Vassell off the board. Was thinking I could maybe grab him second, but I'm going to go ahead and reach here since I have so long until my next pick, and I'm going to add another Chris Middleton to the portfolio here. So through 7 rounds, I got Kyrie and Darius Garland in the backcourt, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Chris Middleton on the wing, Jokic and Chet in the middle. Still liking this start. Who go on the clock here? Hugo grabs D. White. I think you got to like that. Mid to late 70s. Miles Turner in the 5 spot. Dink there. I'm liking the Miles Turner more and more, especially late 70s. And Matt said Tobias not the pick there with your team. Who would you have gone with there? Is it a Jabari for you? Aaron Gordon? Or are you grabbing a big there? Is it Duren? Is it Turner? Is it Ayton? So Terrence goes Ayton. Maddie takes Levine. Jeff on the clock. And we're getting to about the halfway point here of draft number 3 of the stream. If you just tuned in, or if you've been here the whole time and you haven't yet, over on the YouTube, hit the like button on the stream. Subscribe to the channel, right? Help us grow the FTN Fantasy YouTube channel. If you're tuned in on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, like, retweet the stream. Would appreciate it. Jeff takes Nick Claxton and Kobe White. So now we've got Matt and Chris here. Neither team has any bigs. Jordan Poole. And again, this is where, I think one of the drafts last week, I was in a similar position, right? Where it might have been the podcast on Monday with Randall. We just kept pushing the bigs off. And that's what UNC is going to do here. 4-4-0 start. And for Matt, 4-3-0, but on the clock. So Chris picked up D'Lo, picked up John Collins. Right, the guards and the wings for both of the teams here, as Oscar Thompson goes to Matt. The guards and the wings you're going to have plenty of depth, almost no matter how you finish this team out. But again, I'm interested to see how these bigs shake out for you guys. Because we've also got, do we have any other teams with no bigs? Okay, everybody else has at least one. 8 spot has one. The 10 spot has one. Okay, 8 spot just picked up Nurkic. Be interesting to watch. Jeff grab OG. Matty grabs Reeves. Terrence on the clock. I'm coming back around 2-3-2 so far. I'm not going big. Terrence grabs Sexton, then Hero. Hugo, you bastard. TJD. I assume this is going to be a forward here with a 3-1-3 in the 3 hole. Hakas. I could get Simons again. I could wait and still have a perfectly fine guard available. Probably what I'm going to do here. I don't have a ton of Trey Murphy. Also don't have a ton of Jeremy Grant. I don't love either of those guys. I go Murphy. It's my 4th wing. I gotta be honest, that didn't feel as good as the first 8 picks. Or first 7 picks, rather. There goes PJ. Jimmy Grant. See, I think, well, I've got Jimmy already, so I don't necessarily want to grab Rozier here. I do feel, I mean, there's a gap for me between Simons and Beal. So yeah, grab another Anthony Simons here today. We're into round 9. Hugo, what'd you do? What did you do to me? Oh, TJD. Yeah. I hear Modest is buried. Wouldn't draft him. Let's see. We're up to 102. What's his ADP at today? I gotta look. 102.1 right now. Again, 126 in my rankings. So run of guards here. After Simons went Josh Hart, Keontae George, Brad Beal, Terry Rozier, Brandon Pajemski, Keldon Johnson. Jeremy Sohan. UNC's getting excited. Getting excited. Oh! Sniped. Vizelis at 106. That's all right. You guys need bigs anyways. So Matt on the clock. We saw Jeff get Sohan. Maddie picked up Pods. Terrence got Rozier. Hugo got Keontae. So Porzingis is Matt's first big there. Again at 107. Don't hate that. Zubac to UNC. So we're getting the big run of centers here. Zubac, Edie turn for UNC. I think we probably get another big here from Matt. Jonas Valanciunas. So there you go. I think that worked out pretty well for you guys. I think Matt for sure needs 4 bigs, right? With Porzingis being the first one off the board for you. If you had a big in the first 8 rounds, I wouldn't be super gung-ho on that, but so after the run of bigs for Matt and Chris, Rishache, Jeff gets Jaden Ivey, Drew Holiday, Maddie takes Bogdan, Terrence takes Russ, and we're coming back around here in the 10th. I've got the 3-4-2 build working right now. I'm definitely looking at another Chris Paul share here. Lively to Hugo. Homer pick. It's a good pick. It's a good pick at 117. Dallas back to the finals this year, Hugo. What's going down up there in the DFW? So Hartenstein off the board. I will grab Chris Paul. 4-3-2 here for Jay Riddell at the turn. So I'm pretty open to guard or wing here. Again, this is, unless somebody drops crazy to me, I'm just going to roll with Jokic and Chet. Again, got to stay flexible throughout the draft. You never know what's coming next round. See, Matt said, love your whole team minus Chet. So, okay. So you asked me about Chet earlier, right? Matt, what is the case against Chet, where he's being drafted? We're back in here. I haven't done this yet, and it may be stupid. This may be less than ideal to pair Chris Paul and Stephon Castle together. So here's the narrative I just constructed in my head here. Chris Paul starts for the Spurs up to the trade deadline, gets shipped to a contender, ring chasing a little bit on the expiring contract. Stephon Castle takes over the point guard spot for the Spurs. He's wing eligible. I don't know. Remember Jeff talking about me earlier drafting Spurs players. This is that's the most homer thing I've done, I think, this draft season, is take Chris Paul, Stephon Castle back to back. You can see, so they'll trade Edie and a future first for Modest Vaselis. Yeah, and a good point there by you, Matt, that I didn't really pick out just looking at the board. Chris picking up the Zubac Harden pick and roll, which is very strong. Hugo says likely done with bigs. So Hugo, 4 bigs, yeah. Cat, Jared Allen, Derek Lively, Mark Williams. Yeah, but that's a strong 4 big build, if just talking the big depth chart for sure. After he took Mark Williams, Malik Monk, Shaden Sharp goes to Terrence, Max Strus to Maddie, Aaron Neesmith, Jeff takes Klay Thompson. Mavs back to the Western Conference Finals, maybe Finals. Okay. Just better bigs, and I think he loses some rebounds. See, I don't think you see a lot of Chet and Hartenstein out there together. It's too clunky. It's very Wemby, Zach Collins-esque, and I know there's differences with those players, especially between Collins and Hartenstein. Like, Hartenstein's a much better player. I don't think those guys are sharing the floor, which is a big reason why I don't have any Isaiah Hartenstein on my best ball team so far, where he's being drafted. Okay, you said that before you dropped Mark Williams. Yeah, no problem with it for me. So Matt does add that 3rd big there, Jakob Poeltl. He's on the clock again in round 12. UNC on his turn, Kelly Oubre, Tyus Jones. We're into round 12. I like Şengün over Chet, but maybe Hartenstein opens him up to play outside more and he hits more threes. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, I don't think those guys are going to play much next to each other at all. You know, but again, to me, the Hartenstein signing was much more impactful from a real basketball standpoint than fantasy. I would have him coming off the bench right now, though. Are there any are there dissenting opinions to that? Right, because the starting lineup it's SGA, it's Caruso, it's Dort, it's J-Dub, and Chet. And against most teams, you're not closing with Chet and Hartenstein out there together. Hendricks at 140. There you go. Dink buying into Hendricks at the 140s. Again, I've got him right around there. Just feels like we're at the ceiling a little bit. Hugo, Cam Whitmore. 4.52 for me here. So Ben Mathurin, KPJ. Got that same choice again. I'm going to side with KPJ first once again here. It's Jaden McDaniels off the board. So yeah, we'll go KPJ. 4.52 for Jay Riddell in between me and my next pick. So I can go either way here. If Mathurin's still there, it's tough for me not to take him. Pacers with a good playoff schedule. So now it's Reed. Let's see, he's 4.53. I'm pretty sure that's the highest ADP guard, so Hollywood Brown could miss the rest of the season now. All right, yeah, we'll grab another Mathurin here. 6.52 headed into round 13. Here Matt says, yeah, I think Hartenstein comes off the bench, but there will be plenty of combo rotations. Chris says, still 6 bigs I'm comfortable with having as my 3rd or 4th. Yeah, I mean, again, I think both you and Matt have done a good job of tying those teams together for not having any bigs to the first 8. And it helps too, I think, right? We're like, I'm not planning on getting another big. Probably most of these other teams are. Yeah. Would think at least. So after I took Mathurin, Pat Williams, Hugo grabs John Isaac, then Buddy Hield, Malcolm Brogdon to Terrence, Matty on the clock here. I thought the idea was to grab Hart so Chet doesn't have to battle so much to him, though. Yeah, for sure. And it's you can play them together. I just don't think that's going to be a thing you see regularly. Matchup based, right? It helps you when you have to run into a Denver, helps you when you have to run into a Minnesota, right? It's fantastic roster building. I'm just fantasy wise. For me, it doesn't hurt Chet so much, and I'm not super comfortable investing a ton in Hartenstein where he's being drafted right now. That's it. Khalil Ware after Reed Shepard. Matt Graham's Bobby Portis as the fourth big there. So I think you got to, KP, J-Val, Jakob Poeltl, Bobby Portis. Not bad if you're not grabbing bigs till round 9. And then Kessler, Draymond. Nicely done, UNC. I like the Kessler. Who had Embiid? Terrence did. Terrence already has 3 bigs. So not necessarily, right? Like the way that Terrence's roster has worked out with 3 bigs, I don't think I'm forcing a Drummond handcuff there. Clowney to Matt, good pick. Holland, good pick. So Ware and Holland there. From Funky Dumb Free Bands. Donovan Clingan to Jeff. That's on brand for you, Jeff. Gary Trent, Maddie on the clock. Another big. So Maddie with the bigs here. Mobley in round 4, and now Gafford, Capella, Conwo. So you got the Hawks big pairing there. I don't hate that either with the way that build was, or build is, rather. See Matt saying, this is only my second 4 big build out of 50 drafts. Wow. Yeah, it's not something I love, but I get through again. I'm through like 25-ish drafts or whatever it is now. I'm not counting the 4 or 5 slows that I've gone. I've been doing 4 big builds more this year relative to the last few years. But again, this one's about to be a 2 big build, so. And we're on deck. So I could get some Obi Toppin in my life. Rui. Bob Carrington is still there if I wanted to go 7 guards. There goes Rui. So we'll grab Obi. Drummond pick here as a 3rd big also wouldn't be crazy. It's like if Embiid goes down, then you have Jokic, Chet, and Drummond. I think it's more important for me to take some shots on wings here, so we'll speed it up. We'll go ahead and take Obi. I can go 7-7 too, so it's not out of the question to take Bob Carrington here. Unless he gets taken the pick after I grab Obi. Yeah, maybe I do Drummond here. Brandon Clark. Interesting. Nah, I can't do it. Give me another. Nah, we'll do Jovic. Wilson will be gone by the time it comes back to me, but we'll grab Jovic. I got plenty of Jalen Wilson shares. Jovic also could benefit, right? If Jimmy Butler goes out. Not out of the question. Let's see. Here we go. UNC. I think Dink goes 7-7-2 with Bam and Turner. Both great playoff schedules. Yeah. So Dink out of the 5. Bam and Turner. Guards of SGA, Barrett, Hero, Beal, Monk, Buddy Clarkson. He's on the clock too. Wings, Julius Randle, Kuzma, Ingram, Wiggins, Hendricks. So he went and broke the 2 big build there with the Drummond. And I like that. Again, I was right there. Getting him 10 plus picks after ADP, not having Drummond and only having 2, it makes sense. See Hugo took the Jalen Wilson. It's a good pick. Vince Williams to Terrence. Matty grabs Kispert. A round and a half left here. There goes that good third big. Yeah, it's a good third big. Wendell Carter Jr., Jeff grabs Nemhard, Bojan. We've got the last 2 picks here of the Matt and Chris turn. Ayodasumu for Matt's 15th pick. Now UNC here with the 5-5-4. I imagine we see a guard and a wing here, Chris. Saying you have the upside with Drummond. If/when Embiid misses some time. Yeah. And hopefully there is no injury for Joel this year. But if he's out any sort of extended period of time, then Andre Drummond in this 15th round. Whew. Pretty good value. Norm Powell, Delano Banton, Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson. And we're into the final round. Got Jeff here with the 7-5-3 build. Imagine we see a wing here. Yeah, Dalton Connect to close out Jeff's draft. So Jeff finishes there. Anthony Davis, Nick Claxton, Donovan Clingan on the wings. LeBron, Kawhi, Jabari Smith, OG, Jeremy Sohan, Dalton Connect. Guards, DeJounte, J-Dub, Jaden Ivey, Klay Thompson, Dante DiVincenzo, Reed Shepard, Andrew Nemhard. Matty on the clock, 6-5-4. Goes Grayson Allen to close it out. So Steph Curry, Desmond Bane, Zach LaVine, Austin Reeves, Brandon Pajemski, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Grayson Allen. Wings of Tatum, Siakam, McCall Bridges, Max Strus, Corey Kispert. 4 bigs, Gafford, Capella, Okongwu, and Mobley. Terrence grabbing GG in the last round. That's if you're going to grab GG, last round is where I would do it. With that broken foot. Grant Williams, TJ McConnell goes to Hugo. And then we'll close this draft out. Mike Conley still on the board. It's not super exciting, but that's pretty good value nonetheless. Could also Day'Ron Sharp if I wanted to. Just like a high floor Mike Conley. Be the starter all year. We'll grab him at pick 191. Feels pretty good. So when this closes, we'll go ahead and reopen it, look at the couple teams that we haven't talked about yet, and then shut it down for our Friday. Waiting on Mr. Irrelevant here. And we'll open this up. That's not the draft. We'll reload it. Always a good idea to refresh that underdog, right? So my team finishes 7-7-2. Guards, Kyrie, Darius Garland, Anthony Simons, Chris Paul, Kevin Porter Jr., Ben Mathurin, Mike Conley. On the wing, Jaylen Brown, Jimmy Butler, Chris Middleton, Trey Murphy III, Stephon Castle, Obi Toppin, Nikola Jovic, and bigs, the Joker, and Chet Holmgren. Terrence had a 3-big build: Embiid, Zion, DeAndre Ayton, guards, Spider Mitchell, Colin Sexton, Terry Rozier, Russell Westbrook, Shaedon Sharpe, Malcolm Brogdon, and Vince Williams. On the wing, Franz Wagner, Brandon Miller, Denny Abdia, Bilal Coulibaly, Sadiq Bey, and Gigi Jackson. Hugo, out of the 4 spot, his second draft of the season, gets Giannis at 4. On the wing, Amin Thompson, Trace Jackson Davis, Cam Whitmore, John Isaac, Jalen Wilson. Guards of LaMelo, De'Aaron Fox, Derek White, Keontae George, Alex Caruso, TJ McConnell. Bigs, Cat, Jarrett Allen, Derek Lively, and Mark Williams. So before we shut it down, how did you guys feel about that third draft? It's one of my favorite drafts I've done here on stream with you all over the last month. And a little over a month until the season begins. So let's see. Matty said, the first time he's tried a 5-wing build, but I think with Tatum, Siakam, and McCall Bridges, I can get away with it. I agree. Jeff saying, last round connect to add to his Lakers stack. Cheap add-on. There you go. Lakers team. UNC loves this draft. You love to see that. Everybody feels like everybody kind of leaving on a high here. Just as like Klingon in this build as third big. Don't need him early, and he has very high end of season ceiling. I agree. Matt's seen some good teams in here. Yeah, I agree. Jeff say guards just didn't fall to me in this room. That's why I took 5 wings in the first 9 rounds. Hey, you got to got to play it as it lies sometimes in the draft. See what falls to you. Hugo said, thought I was going to hate my team about halfway through, but I think I like it. Praise for my team. I will always put that up on screen. Chris saying one of us getting the 100K. I think, man, for having 6 or 7 of us in here, you got Dinkmeyer at the 5 as well. What I would call a fairly sharp room. I feel like we had some strong teams in here. There's Terrence saying he hates his team. I know you had at least one auto pick in there. Was that the Ayton or the Zion, Terrence? You're giving yourself a D+. It's a passing grade. Not a great one. It's a passing grade, though. What else didn't you like? I think you tied it together pretty well. I mean, let's pull it up here. 7'6'3". Mitchell Sexton. I mean, it's a little thin at guard, but you just need Spider to stay healthy. There's one guy, right? Week in, week out. I think Sexton and Rozier are very strong for where you can get them. Both of those teams have very strong playoff schedules. Denver and Portland with Russ and Shaedon Sharpe, also strong playoff schedules. Same with Brogdon. See, a lot of value there at guard, but I think you pieced enough guard depth there together to make this team have some life. Franz Wagner, Brandon Miller, you need Brandon Miller to take a little bit of a jump, right? But the bigs are stacked, right? And you're probably getting a flex spot every week out of those bigs. Embiid, Zion, Ayton. So I guess I'll say I prefer my team over that one you just drafted, Terrence, but I also don't think that team is bad by any means. Not in my book. Maybe not the favorite one you've drafted here this draft season, but yeah, Matt said, Terrence, I loved your start. I agree. Hugo gives himself a B+. Think I could have waited on bigs and improved my win. Yeah, but also, Hugo, for just being your second draft, you're still getting the lay of the land. Donovan Mitchell, top 10, 15 player if he plays all season. I agree. Wings and point guard 2 week. We'll see. All right, everybody. A little over 2 hours here on this Friday to get 3 teams done. 3 drafts done, rather, in about 2 hours, 20 minutes, compared to what we did last week, 2 drafts in a little over 3 hours. Credit to all of you for tuning in and sticking with me here on today's live stream drafts. Again, I'm back next weekend every Friday between now and the beginning of the NBA season, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here, same time, same place, FTN Fantasy, YouTube, and Twitter pages. You can find my ranks updated at least once a week at ftnfantasy.com. Those are free. And then Best Ball Diary series, those articles starting Wednesday the 18th. Those will be bi-weekly. Those are FTN Fantasy subscribers only. So head over to FTN, sign up. And again, it's the best time to be because the football coverage here, unmatched in my opinion. Check out that Stats Hub, man. One of the coolest things in the industry right now. And if you haven't signed up at Underdog, when you do that, promo code FTN gets you a 100% deposit match bonus up to $1,000 right now, and special discounted pick for their Pick'em games. Speaking of Pick'em games, I know the great Alex Blickel dropping some NFL plays in that Pick'em games channel this morning of the FTN Fantasy Discord. The great Walt Waddell dropping some college football plays in that channel too. Great time to be in and around FTN Fantasy. Great time to be a sports fan. So one more trip here through the comments. Matt saying, didn't realize there were nerds like me. We're everywhere, my friend. Everybody in here, basketball nerd. Do you have a community chat for NBA best ball? Just in the FTN Fantasy Discord for subscribers, Matt. Just in the NBA channel is where we're talking. And to be honest, still at this point of the preseason with NFL going on, baseball finishing up and the like, not a ton of basketball chatter in there outside of when we're live, for the podcast on Mondays for these live streams. But again, that's where it all goes down over in that FTN Fantasy Discord. And when you sign up at FTN, you'll get the link to join the Discord. And we've got, there's 3 servers in there, right? You've got your season-long fantasy server. We've got a bets server, and we've got a DFS server. So all kinds of stuff here for FTN Fantasy subscribers. So Matthew, hope we see you around these parts, and not just in the YouTube chat, but appreciate you and everybody else coming in, participating in the drafts, in the chat, sticking with us. On your way out, if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel, like the video on YouTube, retweet and like on Twitter or X. Yeah, good draft, Terrence. Good to see you around here again. And Matt, everybody else. We'll see you next week. Everybody have a good weekend. Week 2. Good luck, everybody. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.